Hi, the world's most wicked problems need innovative solutions. Join me in this show to meet leaders, pathbreakers, and visionaries who solve these problems. Not just solve them, but they've solved it at scale. When you join me, you're going to listen to their lives, the problems they solved, and the fun they had doing it. Pamela, thank you for joining me. The last time we spoke, you were stuck in a car in heavy rains, and it's lovely to see you in person.
No, it was quite an experience, and it makes you realize that you're just one of those lucky ones who could make it home in just about 3 hours. I heard of a lot of others who were stuck there for about 5 to 6 hours. So I was one of the lucky ones.
I hope these don't become more a routine. In fact, we had the meteorological department here, and I was just talking to them about the rains and how severe they were. And one of the things I want to roll back is to come to your beautiful journey, in the social sector right now with the foundation. Can you lay out to the audience what's been your kind of journey and what turning points were there which made you make some choices?
I don't know how open the audience is to a very wicked answer, right, to what I really tried to achieve in life. I hail from, I'm from Delhi, but my roots are from the state of Uttar Pradesh, right, where I still see that while women are given a lot of rights, they still have to follow certain rules and regulations. I think without realization, I always broke them, right? While I was a part of the family business, it always kept me thinking that what am I doing here, right? What am I achieving except for adding a little more value to the family? So that made me think a lot. And then as I was telling you, I lost my parents to cancer, which made me even think deeper that I need to do a lot more than what I'm trying to do right now. And that made me move into the development sector. But I knew it's a very difficult task because to be honest, I was 39, 40 at that age. And so when I was asked, how will you do this transition? I said, I'm going to study. And they said, at this age, how will you study and where will you study? And I remember going to the university and saying, I want to get into the university, I want to study. And they said, is it for your children? I said, no, it's for me. And they said, there's a age limit. And I said, how can education have an age limit, right? I need to study and I need to learn what the development sector is all about. And ultimately, the chancellor of the university met me and he said, if she wants to study, let her study. And that's how I got into the development sector. I tried to understand what is NGO, I tried to understand what is social entrepreneurship, and there was no looking back, and I would never repent my decision.
Wow. So the initiatives that you're currently leading, could you throw some light on the ones around education, around art? There are quite a few diversified portfolios that you handle with some specific passions within them. We'll come to the passions next, but what are the initiatives just to lay out the landscape?
So, the way the Shiv Nadar Foundation has been focusing it's from the very beginning been very focused on the fact that don't mix CSR with philanthropy, right? CSR is something which the businesses should drive. It's a mandate. We've been doing it far before even the government came into the picture. Philanthropy comes from the heart. If you want to do something for your country, you have to think very differently. And so with your namesake, Shiv Nadar, he was very clear that if I need to do something, let me not find an easy solution. It should not be that, I do similar to what CSR is doing, that I keep giving money and, driving things on ground. Let me start something anew. And for him, again, I think that at the foundation, all of us have a great passion for education. So the thought was that what can we do which will be a part of nation building? Very influenced by the American institutions, the thought was that let's create very creative institutions. And so we call it creative philanthropy, which literally means that let's not drive programs, right? Let that happen through the government. We feel the government is the largest philanthropist, of course, in all countries. But let's focus on something very creative, create institutions will go beyond any founder or successor. So we started setting up institutions, and we've got into the space of K to 12 to PhD. both in the urban and rural space. So creating schools, I think you would have heard of some of the urban schools become popular very easily. So the Shiv Nadar schools, the Shiv Nadar University. But beyond that, I think the most radical thing we've been doing is how do you bring about a real transition and real change, right? A real dramatic, radical change in rural society through education. So building a very interesting initiative. It's an ICT-led illiteracy program called Shiksha, and then beyond Shiksha, what can we do which can really, really help you pick up gems from society who then become the leaders of tomorrow. So the Shiv Nadar Foundation has been focusing on leadership. And when we say leadership, we don't mean political leaders. Any space, right? You could be, I think I'm a leader, you are a leader, everybody sitting here is a leader in their own space. So how do you do that from that 65% of the population which is rural and underserved? And so we created an academy called the Vidyagyan Leadership Academy. Art actually happened by default because Shiv's wife, Kiran Nadar, she has been a real ardent collector of art, and she decided that art should not remain just with the elite. It should be a part of regular people like us and children. And so we created the Kiran Nadar Museum of Art. That's broadly what we are doing. We are in the space of creating institutions.
Right. And education has become your massive passion for yourself.
Absolutely.
And for others. There are a whole range of areas one can work in: health, education, water, climate, gender. Why does education affect you and Mr. Nadar so much?
Honestly, whether you talk of any issue, you talk of gender, you talk of water, you talk of sanitation, you talk of conservation, the real awareness comes when you bring in education into every sector, right? So the thought is that if you want to make a change, make it right at the bottom of the pyramid. The country is led by the children, the youth, right? So how do you bring about a change there? So the foundation works on a very deep dive, way of impacting. It's not about easy solutions. It's a long-term impact that we are trying to create. So that is why the focus has always been education.
Right. And within education, you've been particularly keen around the rural education and girl child's education. Throw us a bit of light, because this is a very difficult area, and particularly the state like UP where you come from. I think girl children completing education is a huge challenge. In fact, educate girls, if you look at the number of districts they work in, it's probably the highest in UP. Throw some light on particular challenges that rural education faces, and girls in particular, and what is the foundation doing to address that?
So I'll tell you why we chose. So our work is also focused in UP and of course all over India. But why we chose UP was because if you turn and see, look at the population of UP. It's 200 million, right? We are talking of a country in itself. We often compare it with the state of, the country of Brazil, which is in South America. It's that large. And unfortunately also considered the Bimaru state. And we are also headquartered there. So we knew that if we have to really bring about a change, let's focus on a state where we have easy access to the government. Though we knew it's a very difficult task, but we focused on that. And in all our conversations with the government, we saw that they were very open to discussions, very open to radical changes. And they asked us, what are you trying to drive here? And when we talked of what we wanted to do, there was no looking back. And that's why we focused on the bottom of the pyramid. As I said, when we talk of rural India, we're literally talking of people who, the marginalized community who generally people forget, or, even in a village setting, when we work a lot in the villages only. So we often see that these are people who are not considered the best in society. That's our focus, right? Because we feel that talent lies right there, and if given an opportunity, they are the ones who lead the country, and they are the ones who will bring about a change in the country. And we really do believe that Shiv Nadar Foundation will be part of that entire nation building.
Right. And I just want to go back to another challenge, which is there was a huge setback during COVID from a learning perspective for children. And I hear reports that many of the children have gone back several years or unable to catch up to the level that they should be. What's the foundation's work around this whole bounce forward? how are you helping children catch up those lost years?
So let me go a little, before COVID, what happened, right? We actually reached out to students who were literally very tiny, right, at the age of 10. And we said, let's give them an opportunity, let's create an academy for them, a boarding school, which allows students from, parent income less than a lakh per annum, which automatically takes us to the target group we wanted to reach out to, and let them write the exam and let them come to study in these academies. We were not sure if people will send their children, because one, it's a boarding school, and the second, it was both for boys and girls with a special focus on girls. To our pleasant surprise, we saw that not a single parent said no, right? And we started getting, today I can tell you that we, just for getting into grade 6, because that's where we start from grade 6, we have 2.5 lakh applications coming just from the state of Uttar Pradesh, from all the 75 districts of UP, which allows every child who feels that he's meritorious, he has talent, to write that exam. And so and ultimately, because as I said, these are special academy, it's only meant to create leadership from rural India. We only take in 200 each year. And that number also, it's a very difficult number to get that 200 of the kind we are looking for. And there's a lot which goes around when you get them, because as you would know, they're malnutrition, they've never stepped out of their villages. Girls have never been sent to a boarding school. So a lot of effort goes in what we want to teach them. You teach them, you help them get over with the whole malnutrition issue. You teach them the language, they don't know English, many don't know Hindi. You start teaching them the basic CBSE syllabus, and then COVID happens, right? And it takes you back where we were, right? You send them back home. They're not used to sitting at home and studying. It's normal for all children to go to school. They're not sitting, their homes are not as comfortable as our homes would be. So they're living in those thatched homes, and they don't have books to study. They don't know how to interact without a teacher in the classroom. We realized that learning was becoming difficult. And so we said, okay, let's lean on technology. And only to realize that most of the parents did not have smartphones, or if they had a smartphone, it was being shared between a family of 6 to 7. So that means a child will only be able to get 1.5 hour or 2 hours to his own mobile. And so we said, what should we do and how can we tackle this issue? We had conversations with large number of NGOs. We tried to understand from the government. One of the good things about the foundation is always in the learning mode, right? So we always want to learn what is working, what are the best practices. And we said, okay, let's now start training the trainers. Because remember, even the teachers did not know how to teach without the children sitting in front of them. They're not used to a blank screen and just talking and kind of ranting away, making children learn that way. But everybody had to be taught, right? The children had to be taught, the teachers had to be taught, the principals had to learn, we had to learn, all of us had to learn. And ultimately, we started developing curriculum, content, very easy to understand, right? And trying to do it through YouTube. We knew the students can't have live sessions. So we did multiple other things. And I think so did others. I mean, why should we only take the credit for it? So did the others. But even now, when you meet those students, you hear, just yesterday I was speaking to the principals, and they said, the students who missed out during COVID time, they're now in grade 12, and they still have missed out a lot on what they should have already learned at grade 9. So that did happen, but I think, those are challenges we are still trying to overcome. A lot of that has happened. And the process of learning continues, but what happened has happened, and we have to keep moving on.
Right, and I think the catch-up is not going to be in a day or two.
Not
I think
at
it's
all.
going to take a couple
Not
of
at all.
years to do that. I want to go to one of your passions, natural farming, and connected to education. Could you throw some light, particularly why would that be important for students?
Nagaland, you have children from Rajasthan, you have children from Tamil Nadu, all coming and studying in these boarding schools. And from here they've reached as far as, they don't only do 12th out here, they've reached IIT, they've reached Stanford, they've reached Georgetown, Qatar, all over. They're all over in top universities today. So we knew that, it can't be just all academic. It is all about their emotional well-being, their happiness, their mental well-being, right? There's a lot that you have to tackle. With time, we also realize that it's very important to change the mindset of the teachers, the communities our children come from, we ourselves, right? And so it's a conscious effort that what should we be doing to promote good health, to promote happiness with the children. Have we really reached where we wanted to? The answer is no, not yet, right? But we are at it. We are very conscious about it, and we kind of work on it on a daily basis.
Right, and it's a very big challenge.
It's a big challenge.
And I think that's where Newmans is also working out quite a few packages for educational
Absolutely.
institutions. So I think, yes, I absolutely agree with you. We're just begun probably working on
And
it.
if I can give you examples, I remember chatting with some girls, and I said, why are you in these academies, right? And don't you want to go back home? And it's so interesting that you never see attrition happening there. And they said, ma'am, jab hum uthte the, so we would go, as young girls, we had to go to the fields to help our father or to cook food. Today we get up to do yoga, right? I met up with some kids who were about 10, 12. I said, what has changed your life? They said, for us, life was about depression. We didn't even realize we were depressed. And it's the kind of classrooms we were sitting in. We didn't even have a floor to sit on. We were sitting on, I don't know if you understand Bajri, it's the stone and they were sitting on that. Today we have tables and chairs to sit on. There's a fan in the room. There's a teacher who's addressing and purely talking to us for us, right? And we realized that it's all impacting them in a positive manner. So consciously we said that we need to drive a change through wellness counselors. And we have wellness counselors even in our offices and in our schools and university and everywhere.
Wonderful. I want to now move from Pamela as a professional to Pamela as a person. Could you share with us what's your philosophy of life, and how do you manage your priorities, your energy, and your time?
I always believe never look back. As I said, I'm being very honest and candid because I love the word wicked problem and wicked solution. I've always been like that. I always have been in very wicked problems, and I've always thought to myself, why should I look back, right? Why should I not do what I want to do? So with that attitude, I've always found success. Be it at home, be it in my personal life, my professional life, I don't look back, and when I want to achieve something, I focus and I make sure that I get it.
Wow. Okay. The next question I wanted to ask you was around if you were to meet your own clone, your exact clone, what would you first say to this clone?
I'm going to say that from very young age, focus that you're a girl and you should make your own life, and don't be sabotaged by the fact that it's a man ruling the world.
Okay. In fact, in the same stage, we had a community member saying, we women are ahead of men. And it was
That's
lovely
true.
to say so.
I must say that when we get girls from villages and we get boys from villages, the girls are nowhere near the boys, right? The boys are far ahead. Just in 2 years, we see girls surpassing every boy in the classroom. And we've found mostly all the toppers in the school are all girls.
Right.
So, I think it's just they don't get enough opportunity, and when they do, they surpass.
Right.
And I think it's a given. I think we are cloned like that.
Wonderful. Pamela, with your permission, I would like to engage the audience if they had any questions for you or any comments or anything you said. They wanted to add an angle to it.
Hi, my name is Shiv Kumar, and so my question is these are infrastructure and resources which could have been there if the government had worked well. So you are providing all those facilities. But I also want to understand the issues at grassroots which force them to drop out. Are we also talking on those issues of caste, gender and class, and like it's a reality whether we talk about it or not, but it stays with the person. Like I also belong to a marginalized community, so we did not know that what was happening like in the early days. But later I got a chance to excel in my studies and got to know. But later when I read Savitribai Phule or Ambedkar or Periyar, so I understand that what was happening and what was the major blockade of not able to challenge the status quo at those times. So are you also looking on those aspects while providing the infrastructure and teaching facility and other?
Allow me to reframe it so that we've understood the question well. I think your point is that you're working on the hardware and the infrastructure issues, as well as are you working on the softer issues like social norms, things which stop people from getting educated? Are you working on that too?
I keep in a social aspect only, not in a technical.
Okay, social aspects.
You absolutely got your question. So, very frankly, what we do is we never tackle it directly because that's not the right approach to have. Children are your biggest change makers. So the focus is that every child who's impacted by us, irrespective of which institution they are in, our only hope and expectation is that they should be the ones who should make a change. So most of our children, very honestly, come from the scheduled caste societies or scheduled tribes or the Muslim community, the OBC communities. But it makes us no difference, right? How does it matter? They are talented, they are talented. But we see that each of these students, when they go back home, they reach out to their own community of friends, their schools, their teachers, they talk about it, and they say that, today I've been chosen, but I need to impact so many others in my village. So that, they are the ones who become the change maker of society. And we are seeing that happening, and in a very positive manner. I mean, I can talk of so many girls who are now, in urban, working in good companies like Google, Microsoft, all from very, very marginalized homes. And they've forgotten what caste, creed, and religion is all about, right? Because that's not what our focus is. But interestingly, when they go back home, they face the same problem. And so they address it. And when they address it, it has a more powerful impact. That's how we do it. If I was able to answer your question.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other question? Yes, Siddharth.
So I just want to build on that point. When students go back home and they try to address issues which they have maybe more information on, or they're just more aware about how it affects their lives and even their parents' life and how it affects the community. Have there been examples of where students have faced a pushback from their families or the communities that they work with, that maybe going to the school is making you think all these things, right? I mean, even I, as a very privileged member, even I experienced it. बहुत modern हो गए, right? That's a comment that I get. But have there been instances like that? How have students reacted to it? Have they brought it back? How have they reacted to it? And how has the school tackled it?
So that's a challenge we face, right? I mean, especially for girls. I have a lot of examples where girls have gone back and they were said that, it's time, we probably without realizing have delayed marriages for them. But we've heard cases where girls have gone back and they were said, you will not be allowed to go back to higher education, right? Because you'll go to Delhi. And if you go to Delhi, there's no coming back. तुम भूल जाओगी गाँव क्या होता है, right? But except for one or two examples, I think girls have been very smart to make their way through with their parents, right? Because it's not just the parent, right? It's the entire community which impacts them. Imagine a girl standing there and a community standing there and saying, "Ab nahi jaogi," right? And agar jaogi bhi to, remember when we talk of a rural setting, they have very different expectations. The expectation, if you're going away to study, then you should become an IS officer or an IPS officer or a doctor or an engineer, and then you come back. And then if a girl turns and says, that's not what I want to pursue, right? I want to become a data analyst. Parents or communities don't understand that, right? And I can talk of this girl who's now in KPMG doing exactly that, right? So yes, there has been a push and pull, but they come back, they talk to us, and we also make a lot of effort to counsel the parents. We've started this whole new program called Margdarshan. It's only for our parents because we realize that they're not invisible, they're right there, influencing. So it's a slow, gradual change, but we see tremendous change coming in.
Thank you. So that means you're, in addition to the regular curriculum teaching, you also work with parents and with the system of
Absolutely.
of parenting,
Absolutely.
all of
You
those.
can't isolate and work,
Right.
right? It all goes hand in hand.
Right, and because that's the supportive system in which the
Absolutely,
education is
yes.
happening. I want to ask you one last question. What's the next wicked solution that you would love to work on?
To see a lot of girls getting into the industry, right? I'm really, really interested in that.
Yeah,
It's-
IT industry or any?
Any industry, right? I really want to see girls where they really want to be, right? Not just running homes. And that's something we are focusing on. I would also love to see that change because I do hear a lot of girls saying that our parents want us to work only to have sarkari naukri, right? The typical thing, do government jobs. And that's a mindset we want to change. It's okay
Right.
to go where you want to be.
Right. Well, I mean, HCL is doing very well. Markets are doing very well. Mr. Nadar comes to you and says, hey, Pamela, here's another 1,000 crores that you can spend. Where would you put that money?
Interesting. I would put it back in education. I mean, I have realized education it's an ocean there, right? We've done very little, right? We can do a lot more. So I'll plow that money back into education.
You will plow it back into your original passion, which you still believe there's a lot more to do.
Yes, a lot
And-
more to do.
And this is about girl children reaching their full potential. And
Absolutely.
That's where your money would go.
Every time we go to a very remote area, like we went to Nagaland, we've gone to Meghalaya, Mizoram, Assam, and again, not the fancy places, very remote areas. You realize you can keep plowing the money, and there's so much you can do in education. That's when the change will happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can we convey our sincere thanks to you, Pamela, for what you do?
Thank you so much for calling me.
And to the Nadar family for not only building a fantastic IT company, but also making it global, bringing in foreign exchange, and also being a very giving family. Thank you so much for what you do, Pamela. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists today.
Thank you so much.